welcome to the show. I'm Jacquelene and you're on Soulstar Radio. This is on the A1R Psychic Radio Network and also Moonstruck TV. I'm just writing some notes. I've had rather an interesting morning. There's always kind of a rush and a flurry here, where I am. It's sort of, I tend to be on the go a lot, and being a Gemini, it's like, whoa, oh, look at that, there she goes again. Don't mind me kind of doing this. And it's always hilarious because, of course, producer said to me, are you ready? Oh, of course you're ready. And I'm like, yeah, I'm ready on Gemini terms. Hey, so now, look, we're going to do a couple of calls today. Yay, finally, right? So you can actually reach me on the Facebook Soulstar Radio page and have a chat. And I've got... good on you, Dave. So I've got a couple of people there that have written it, and it really felt important to me. Just yesterday, I was sort of feeling the mood, feeling the energy, and I'm like, wow, there's a lot of stuff going on out there for people, and it's kind of hectic. So, first of all, I've got the candle going. And I actually have a candle going every time I'm doing the show, and that candle is about sending out healing energy and light to people. And so, that's anyone who needs it at this point in time, we're sending that energy out to you. And just know that, when you've got a show like this and you've got a station like this, it's all about sending you love and encouragement and helping you sort of, deal with what's happening in life, in your spirituality as well. But we've got a caller coming up first who's going to be Jasmine, and hopefully we're going to get her on the line very shortly. But, it can be challenging for some people. Well, how do I deal with negative energies, and things like psychic protection, what do I do if I'm feeling a bit, like things are a bit shady? There's a lot of people out there at the moment with the eclipses going through Cancer and Capricorn, and all those retrogrades. I mean, hey, Saturn is doing its trick. We've got Mercury. Just name it. It's pretty much there. And, we've also got both Pluto and Saturn going through Capricorn as well as the eclipses going Cancer, Capricorn, Cancer. Here we go. 2 years of that, right? So till 2021. And so it can be heavy for some people. We can be dealing with stuff around, that mothering energy and then the authority energy. So, when we're dealing with a Cancerian energy, really good light, that's a nurturing mother aspect. In the not so great light, we've sort of got codependency and the smother love, or the sort of, make sure that you, make sure you do this, make sure you do that. What are you doing with this? What are you doing with that? And wanting to kind of be on top of you like that. So there's that side. And then with Capricorn, when it's really positive, there's a mature aspect there. There's the letter of the law. There's, like putting rules in place, in a really positive aspect. But when that goes haywire, we can have issues around greed, control, manipulation, lies, all these sorts of fun things. And every zodiac sign has its positives and its negatives, that's for sure. So, it's an interesting time when it comes to that. But with Jasmine herself, she was actually asking about how to deal with negative energies in the home. So I might start with that as well. So when you've got negative energies in the home, you sort of got to look at, all right, well, what are the actual interactions we've got, going there in the home? What is the family dynamics? What's the dynamics of other people we've let in the home, perhaps, or that we used to allow in the home and aren't now? Is it a new home that we're sort of dealing with? So if we're dealing with negative energies in the home, it's not as simple as, oh, look, smoky sage stick, look at that. Because that's powerful stuff when you are a Native American person from where that came. And it can be powerful for people of other cultures, but it's really important to kind of have a respect for the actual culture it comes from. So, there are different clearing and healing techniques for energies in the home and other places, that are across a range of different cultures. We sort of talk about shamanism being purely a indigenous thing to a particular culture. There's actually indigenous cultures around the world, and even in the, the Celtic lineages, there are certain practices that will have carried through. Like, we could say, what are you talking about? You're just making that up, sister. Well, no. Tea leaf reading is something that might sound a bit basic, but that's something that, for example, in my family has been carried down generations, as well as a palm reading. It's like, oh, look at your palm, my grandfather, when I was about 21, he said to me, and give me a hand. And he took my palm, and he actually said, he said a few things that really ended up being true, but at the time, I was kind of sad because I was recognising how long it would take to happen, even though he hadn't said the timing on it. And so, there's different cultural reference points to accessing our intuition, to clearing energies. But first of all, let's look at the dynamics in the house. Then look at what are we breathing into the space. Sage is not, it's not as simple as that. You can use salt, you can use calling in the light, you can call on the corners and create space. And I actually use 6 directions. So the 4 directions and then above and below. So it's kind of that energy of Mother Earth, Father Sky to actually create that spherical ball-like energy that clears. And certainly another little thing in the toolkit, if you sort of think of turning lead into gold, that's the old version of alchemy, right? Hey, if you got some heavy, dense energy, that's kind of lead-like, isn't it? And, nothing quite like golden fire to burn that off. Hey, a bit like, the bug zapper on the porch. Ooh. But, love and light comes in many forms, doesn't it? Now, we've actually got our first caller. We've got now Jasmine in Melbourne, Victoria. Are you there, Jasmine?
I'm here. How are you?
It's really good to speak to you, darling, and thank you so much for participating. And you are a sensitive soul. I'm kind of looking at your numbers only just now, and thank you so much for being part of this. Now, with your energy, whatever year number the world's in, you're at the same time. So it does add to the sensitivity that's going on here. And also being that your year of the Earth Tiger, there's kind of at times you can get a bit reactive and kind of quick to move with things, but also quite stubborn, darling. Good on you. You're in good territory. I'm kind of got that. You should see my spirit guides have a discussion with other people's spirit guides about, you think you've got trouble, watch this, watch what I'm dealing with, So when you're sort of thinking that you're hard work, you're really not, because, that's kind of a conversation right there. I think the thing is that there's been a tendency there for you to be hyper diligent with people to the point of doing way too much sometimes, and there's also this kind of reflexive reaction of sometimes going to a bit of hypervigilance as well, where, oh God, what did they mean by that? If that makes sense to you. And kind of having to sort the wheat from the chaff here. This year is a 3-year for you and the world, and 3 is actually the Empress. So this is like the mother, the earth goddess. It's that ability to create and birth new things, but also look at the door, who we're letting in, who we're keeping out. So it's interesting. You've actually asked a couple of questions there about, and particularly about negative energies in the home. So what we let in, what we keep out. And certainly, it can be as simple as putting light around you, but you can get more technical as you go. And I'd really recommend to you a book by Phil Cooper called Basic Sigil Magic. And it kind of goes into how to call those corners and how to create that sacred space. And if we think of Reiki symbols, right, you think of Reiki symbols, hello, kind of like, sigils in a way. I mean, the Japanese Reiki symbols are actually words, and the Sanskrit ones are, it's less recognisable as words, because they're absolutely ancient symbols. And the more we call on the older symbols, the more they've been used over a longer time makes them more powerful. But we can also use a bit of, in your case, a bit of chaos magic without the kind of funny side of that that we won't go into on a G-rated show. But, you can use symbols that align with chaos magic in the sense of the popularity of the image and call upon that to create like a mascot, or, like if you can imagine on a football field, a mascot jumping around and going, woohoo, and it's creating a distraction to that negative energy, if that makes sense. And it's also, you can use it to push energy out. So if we kind of think of the Starship Enterprise putting a tractor beam over the house and, maybe even dematerializing some stuff that shouldn't be there. That's a creative way of using symbolism to zap the, the stuff out of there, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a way I reckon you'd be able to jump onto it pretty quickly, because it's like, Jacqueline, you give me a crash course in magic. What do I do? And it's like, well, here's one. If you can imagine something and it's a very popular image, such as a Starship Enterprise and its tractor beam, or maybe it's filtering beam that changes the atmospherics, that's something that there's a lot of people out there that believe in Star Trek, and they believe in the energy behind it, the principles, and they're vibing on that. Yeah, they're like, whoa, Star Trek Enterprise, good. So, it's got a positive energy about it. Sure, I mean, depends on which species you are as how you feel about that. But, it's still an image that popularizes this sense of, fairness and of, doing the right thing in the universe. That can actually clear energy. The other thing as well is when you're clearing energy in the house, it's really important that you're not in fear while doing it, because if you're like, oh, yeah, please don't hurt me, it's like, guess what? You've just invoked fear and you've created a stronger connection to that lower vibration, which amplifies the lower vibrations. So if you're going to clear a house, you actually have to go in there like I do. It's like, yeah, I'm calm. All right, knocking on the walls. Gotcha. Fine. Okay, going to swing the door open. Nice try, bud. It's like, whoa, not worried. So you have to kind of be able to do that. This is why, I'll tell you a story. Years ago, I had this woman come to do a space clearing on a house I'd moved into that I'd been drawn to by very interesting astral experiences. A long story, very long, but let's get to the quick of it. The passed over wife in the house who died before the husband, she would tap me on the third eye each night, like she was trying to communicate with me. I'm like, look, I want to sleep. And she was trying to sort of go, hey, look, but, my husband hasn't quite left here yet. So that's why I'm coming and tapping you on the forehead. And each time I booked this lady, I'd fall asleep on the couch in the lounge room as soon as she arrived. Like she would arrive, she'd leave. This happened 3 times. And I said to her, look, could you please just make sure I will have the actual door unlocked. The wire door will be closed, but the actual wooden door will be open. If I'm asleep on the couch, please come in and wake me up. I said, I'm swearing to God, it's the energy doing this, it's not me. And sure enough, the woman had to walk into the lounge room and wake me up. And she was like the feng shui lady. Anyway, so she's like, oh, wow, she's feeling this vibe in there. And we go to this corner of the house that this old man had been basically occupying the bedroom in the house and just going and shaving and going and getting a newspaper, reading it for the day. And that was pretty much his existence in the last couple of years of his life. And, of course, I only knew that once all this happened where I said, oh, all right, well, I'll leave you to clear this because you know more than me. And so next thing she got thrown across the room, which is really, rare, incredibly rare for something like that to happen. I've never heard of it before actually happening. And I said, what the hell did you do? And she went, and she showed me this medallion and she goes, you run through what you did. And she said, she held it up and was shaking it and going, I command you. And and I thought, sweetheart, and I just said to her, look, if I hadn't been disincarnate and you'd done that to me, I said, you're lucky you only got thrown across the room, frankly, because that's not okay. I mean, why don't you just say, look, excuse me, this is my space now. So it's really important when you're looking at clearing a space is to come from that kind of, okay, look, I'm here, you're there. This isn't quite working for me. I'm sure you have a reason for existing, but how about we just send you off with a lot of love and light, and I'm not pushing you, I'm not, punching you around, because if you come from that either fearful or aggressive kind of tone, you're going to cop it, yeah? So it's really important to actually come from a calm space because then it has nothing to hook on to. You'll notice that the way to have a fight in the, real world with someone is they say something awful, you say something awful back. And, of course, what does it do? It just escalates, right? It gets worse. But if you instead look at someone and they're going, hey, and they're baiting you and you go, nice try, bud. Okay, all right, well, I see your damage and I don't raise you one. I'm going to send you off in your way and I'm not going to be sorry for you. I'm not going to be angry at you. I'm not going to be fearful of you. I'm not participating. I might assert myself very calmly, and then I'm just going to not make an issue, going to just, move on. Then that can't hold to you. If you're finding that someone sends you a complaint letter and they've got 10 points and you answer each point, they're going to come back with 26. Why? Not because you didn't answer them right, not because of that. It's because you felt the need to justify, or that there's a power imbalance and you're feeling a need to acquiesce too much. So it's sort of with you with the boundaries. It's a really big thing in this life, be able to put those boundaries in a calm way. So that's where those 10 points, you're going to respond instead with what actually does need addressing, that one central point, and instead start off with, I'm taking on board all of your feedback, and about this particular thing, this is what I'm doing. Thank you so much for this, and da-da-da-da, sort of customer service based, right? So if you apply that to some of the relationships around you which have been challenging on that level where people are pushing too much, if that makes sense, yeah? Yeah, and then you also apply that to how we space clear. It actually gets a whole lot easier because you're not creating something for it to hook back into you with. So it's really important at the moment for you to work on your sense of feeling justified within yourself. And then that's going to lift off this provocation stuff people will feel they can do with you. And certainly I will deal with, you've asked a question about the family, which I will answer in private, back to you. But I'm getting on the dynamics there that are actually important for you at this time as to how to really practically deal with a space clearing angle, because it's answering actually a lot of the dynamic angles you have when people are trying to push your buttons. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. See, so I'm hitting it from the space clearing angle, but I'm actually hitting it from, entities in the bathroom right through to, how to deal with a person down the street who decides to get into an argument with you and you've done absolutely nothing wrong. And by getting a handle on that, you don't get as easily flustered, and then you're not talking to people in the home about those frustrating people today. That really, got you. And that just helps calm all of this down, because then there's less of this chaos going on in that undesired kind of way, if that makes sense. So that's how I can answer you on air the best way, and I will answer you this other stuff off air because I feel that's too sensitive energetically to have exposed. So I'll deal with that privately for you in greater depth after the show. So thank you so much for calling in. I hope that helps you, darling, and I wish you the absolute best. I will be in touch, yeah? So now next we're going to another caller we've got time for. We have the wonderful Liz, who is actually an Australian, and she's in Palm Springs, Florida, USA, and that's where she's been. Hello, how are you going?
Good, thank you. How are you?
Absolutely wonderful, lovely to speak with you. You do have a very vibrant light field energy. There's a lot of white and gold going on with you, and it's like you're trying to educate people and help them grow in their wisdom. So it's really interesting. We've gone from dealing with the first call has been really about dealing with how to put more light into a space, and and that lady's also got a lot of light with her, but, this is you actually going out and disseminating that light, I feel, and really doing a lot with it. And you do work from that heart space, I feel. You're in the US, and this is really about career and life purpose. I actually feel like I've got takeoff on this, and it's not just on the plane getting there. I actually feel like you're getting that takeoff. It's like we've had 3 major bumps in the road here with 2 gaps in between, but we're now getting this sorted out and a lot stronger. I feel like you're starting to get the leads you needed, and certainly over the next couple of months more is opening up for you, and it's like new opportunities on a career front as well, not only for you but also for people around you, not just partner. So it's like this is benefiting not just you, not just partner, but it's like there's an associate near you, feels like they might be in America as well, and it's like there's stuff coming to them right now as well, and it's kind of interlinked with you. So it's like you can collaborate with this person and work really well to get better results, and certainly more of a solid offering, I think, more of a solid movement to this, because it has been a bit stop and start here, and it's just this thing of having to put the practical places in step. There's certainly a lot more travel to come, and a lot more letters going backwards and forwards, and deals and contracts being signed, I feel. Now, does that make sense to you?
It certainly does.
Yeah. So, I think the thing is, and it's really going to be about having to just rocket on this. And I think the great thing about you is you're not floating on a moonbeam if I just call on spirit, it'll happen. You're also actually doing the work here and doing the very grounded work, and I believe that's why people are really taking to you, because they're seeing not just the vision, the dreams, but also the solidity, the groundedness in what you're doing, and that's what's going to propel this forward. More workshops to come is the message there, and certainly more exposure and one-to-ones going through there. I'm seeing more corporate contracts too, as if we're dealing with business people more. And it's like whether we're going into the corporate setting and dealing with a number of people, like you're visiting the office, whole heap of people, or whether it's that you're having that liaison with groups in here. But that sort of feels positive to me with you. You also asked about your soulmate. I do believe that you're very good at getting along. I was just seeing a gherkin, pickles. I don't understand, sometimes we're in a pickle. Okay, thanks. My guys like to give me Sudoku puzzles so I don't ever get dementia, by the way. Is it kind of cryptic? It's whatever pickle we think we're in, we're rolling and sorting that out. And I do feel that the minor irritations we get at times, you're able to also sort of, get back to the basics of what that really is that's going on for you at the time, because it's certainly not really about this not working. Is just about frustrations at that time, or there's some energy moving through you, and you'll find that the energy doesn't just move through you, it moves through your partner. So sometimes, there'll be a certain thing he'll say and he doesn't know that he knows that he knows, but there's something he's processing that's actually like a shining light for you of, oh, that's what I needed to understand for this situation that's about to happen. So sometimes he's actually processing stuff as well, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So with regard, one other question I didn't ask, if I may I add one more?
Absolutely.
Thank you. So I'm over here on a tourist visa because of my partner's work, and I'm looking at the direction I need to go so that I can get into the US market, because I think not just Australia needs it, as well as the US people need it as well. And, it's more sort of around direction with that, So
that's where I'm actually feeling. Yeah. Is that like a B? Is the numbers B1N1 or something? I don't quite understand that.
B1, I'm on at the moment, but I'm looking at like a business visa, whether I set up a business over here, because we're only here for 2 years. So I'm sort of somewhere.
There's contracts there. There are contracts there for you, Dal. That's what it feels like. Okay. And I actually also feel, strangely enough, there's trips backwards and forwards to Canada involved in this as well.
Right,
and when I say involved in this, it's involved in the bigger picture of this. But the collaboration, it's like you working with someone else close to you that's over there, that is US based, that you've come into contact with, and it's like we're able to work this together. There are certain ways we can work in the US, when we've got an agent, and it's amazing how quick that can happen, because suddenly that visa can change very quickly. It's all about having the right people and the earth angels around you, which I do feel you're getting very soon. But certainly it takes a while to, because with the US you've got to do reconnaissance, honey. Because really it's a very different landscape in how people do business. And, I have a lot of clients. I've got a lot of clients in the US, and it's amazing how quick doors open. And the thing to understand is that certainly in the entertainment industry, the door opens for everyone once, and depending on what you do when it's open depends on whether it opens again. So, I think the thing is you've got good people around you, and there's going to be opportunity here, and it's about 3 months away. And as I said, I'm seeing the stuff I was saying. I feel like it's coming. We've just got to kind of hang in there for it. And you are a guiding light in the work you're doing. So I do think that can't help but find its way.
Yeah, I think I'm actually a medium myself, but it's very hard to pull through information. So you've been very accurate with everything that you've said. So I'm a life coach as well, but I work with victims of violence. So it's about bringing in a bigger picture for the world, if you know what I mean, and how to heal through that process.
Boy. Absolutely. And, and it's interesting because, that really relates today, even astrologically, if we look at what's going on right now and your call on this show today. I actually also think, have you already got contacts in Hong Kong? Because if you haven't, there will be, but I'm feeling that energy there as well. So it's just going to be about you continuing to spread those wings out further and further and further. And then, if you get a bit, fatigue, breathe, pull it back in for a minute, assess, have a look at how far you come, and then step back into it again. It was 25 years ago I saw myself on a magazine cover and thought that I was having an ego attack. And what the hell would I be in, yellow, red and black anyway, because, in clothing and a magazine cover. And I actually relate to those colours really quite strongly. They're in the Indigenous flag after all. But, I wasn't expecting to be sitting there on a magazine cover looking like that. And I was thinking I was absolutely bonkers. And, it was 2010 that was actual cover. And I was asked to be on a cover and I thought, yay, purple background. No, yellow. And so I had a few different clothing choices and one of them was red and black. And here I am on the cover with yellow, red and black and going, that's the
cover. I'm supported by spirit and driven by it, so doing my life sort of purpose.
You're also driven by practicality. And at the time, I was a dyslexic who'd never written a thing when I saw that vision. And now I write cover stories all the time. It's sort of, normal. But the reason I'm giving you that is because you've had similar visions of a similar scale. You've got bigger visions coming in now. You've just got to kind of keep running with them, yeah?
Yep. Yeah, which I'm happy to do.
You keep going. That's it. And do the practicality behind it. And while you're not working, write. While you're not working, breathe. While you're not working, meditate. And it's all going to come together in good time. So, thank you so much for joining me on the show. It's been an absolute pleasure. And I'll have to catch up with you, actually, because I might have you as a guest on the show. That can be a first US gig.
I'd love to. It's been my pleasure.
Easy done, darling. Lovely speaking with you and lovely also speaking today. Thank you. And thank you also, Jasmine. And just stay tuned to A1R Psychic Radio. There'll be more readings tonight and on Moonstruck TV on all of the different apps and platforms. It's crazy. Anyway, I'm going to catch you next week. Lots of love to all of you. Bye.